Hi everyone, my name's Rima and I'm one of the many interns responsible for creating and teaching you a lesson plan. So this lesson is known as Appreciating and Preserving Nature. Let's get started. So I've taken the initiative of preparing an agenda for us. So I'd like to talk about the fact that nature keeps us alive, of course. Why do humans need nature to survive? And what would happen if nature just disappeared one day? So what if we just woke up and all the nature in the world was gone? What would really happen to us? So this whole section is really trying to focus on why nature should be appreciated and how much it really does help us. Then I've included some photos of nature from Canada, which is where I'm from, and India, which is where you're from. So I thought that'd be really neat. Then lastly, I'd like to talk about how we can preserve nature. So why is preservation necessary? How nature can be preserved or protected? And lastly, a fun assignment. So this is why nature should be appreciated. And now that we understand why it should be appreciated, how can we protect it? That's what I really want to get to today. So let's explore the importance of nature. So why do us as humans need nature? Now, it's important to understand that nature is beneficial to all life on Earth, not just humans. So that includes animals or bugs or whatever you can think of. So the most obvious one, I think, is the fact that the trees give us oxygen. That's a pretty obvious one. And if we didn't have trees, well, then we don't have any oxygen. We can't breathe. Rivers, lakes, oceans, they all give us water. So maybe you go, to a beach or on vacation and you notice that the ocean water is very salty. So when I say it gives us water, or rivers and lakes, sometimes the water is dirty, but that actually gets cleaned or the salt gets taken out and that becomes our drinking water. It's actually really cool. Fruits, vegetables, they grow from trees, the ground, bushes, all over the earth, and that makes up a lot of our food. That's really important as well. The atmosphere, in my opinion, one of the most important, aside from oxygen, of course, this protects us from the sun. So perhaps you've heard of the atmosphere when we're talking about global warming or climate change. It's really cool. I would recommend that you research that on your own time. So what would happen if we woke up today and all the nature was gone? It just disappeared. Well, for starters, again, the most obvious one, if the trees disappeared, we would have no oxygen, so we wouldn't be able to breathe. That's pretty crucial to us living. If the water disappeared, not only would we have no drinking water or nothing to drink, we would also have no fish to eat. The fish would have no home. Whales, sea turtles, you name it, they would have no home. And if all the fruits and veggies all over the world just vanished, we'd have a lot less food on Earth. So fruits and vegetables are actually in a lot of the food that we eat. They're not just alone all the time. They actually make up a lot of the food that you might eat every day. In the atmosphere, well, if the atmosphere disappeared, we probably wouldn't even be able to leave our homes. We'd become so sun damaged. Our skin would just shrivel up. It would be horrible, just awful. You can see there's a little boy getting a sunburn there. He's really hungry because if all the fruits and veggies disappeared, he'd be pretty hungry. And little fish here would have no home if the water disappeared. How sad would that be? So I wanted to include this slide because I don't want to give out the idea that things should only be appreciated when they're beneficial to us, because that is not true. Actually, that's completely false. Things should be appreciated, specifically nature, even if they don't benefit us at all. So it's important to understand that nature isn't here to only serve humans, it's here for a lot of different reasons. So it should be appreciated even if it doesn't help us at all. So here, of course, I'm referring to nature, but this goes for anything. You should appreciate everything in your life, even if it doesn't benefit you. So I have some photos here. The sea turtle, a whale, and without the ocean, they wouldn't be here. So how sad would that be? So yeah, what I want you to take away from this slide is just because nature benefits us doesn't mean that's the only reason it's important. It's important for a lot of different reasons, and I suggest you research that on your own time. Okay, so here's some photos of nature in Canada, which is where I live. So you can see here that this is in Ontario, this photo of Niagara Falls. I'm actually from Ontario. It's pretty neat. I've been here a couple times. So there's the CN Tower. We have the Niagara Falls. So a fun fact about that, if you didn't know, is that's actually at the border between the United States or America and Canada. So there's an American side and a Canadian side of the falls. It's really cool. A lot of people will take a boat through here and you have to wear a poncho so you don't get soaked. It's really neat. I've actually been on one. There's a little rainbow there as well. This photo on the left here is from Nunavut, and this is actually a national park. And you can see all the lavender and the beautiful mountains. Just gorgeous. So could you imagine if this all just disappeared one day? How horrible would that be? So just because these things don't necessarily benefit us, just because maybe Niagara Falls or these lavender plants, we can't drink or eat it, it should still be appreciated. It should still be valued. Value isn't measured at how much it benefits us. It's a really important take home today. So then I decided to also include nature in India. So here we have, which is referred to actually as the Switzerland of India. So if you've never seen Switzerland, it tends to be full of nature. It's gorgeous. And that's what this place here is referred to. I'd pronounce it, but I'm afraid that I'll completely butcher it. I won't pronounce it correctly. So out of respect, I won't. But yeah, it's just gorgeous. And here on the right as well, you can see you have the trails and the sunset. It's just beautiful. Yeah, so how horrible would it be if it just disappeared? There's even a little village here. Just beautiful. Okay, let's keep going. So how we can preserve nature. So let's see how we can really care for nature. Also how nature is being cared for right now. So what does preservation even mean? Let's define preservation before we get any further. So it's a noun, and here I'm talking about specifically the preservation of nature. So it refers to protecting the environment from harmful human activities. So we're going to explore why humans can be harmful to the environment in the next few slides. So why is preservation even necessary? So as the human population grows, we may run low on resources. So what this means is as we get more and more humans on Earth, it doesn't mean that we get more and more nature on Earth. In nature, of course, is where a lot of our resources come from, like water, food, agriculture. A lot of that comes from nature, stems from nature. So the increase in demand, so of course as the population grows, the demand for these resources grows as well. So this increase in demand may actually drive humans to destroy the environment, destroy certain areas. So perhaps if, the human again, the population grows, and we're like, hey, we need more wood, perhaps to make paper. Then they might go into a gorgeous place like this and just cut down all the trees just because we need more wood. That's horrible, and we don't have a right to do that. Sometimes things are exploited even when there's no reason for it. Even when the demand isn't high, things can be exploited. So nature isn't here to be destroyed. It's here to be handled with care. Our responsibility on this earth, one of the biggest responsibilities we have, is to protect nature, because nature can't protect itself. It needs someone there to protect it. So this is exactly what preservation is. We want to preserve nature. We want to keep it intact, because if we keep it intact, then it's going to last a lot longer than if we just allowed it to be exploited. That's a really important note. So that's exactly what preservation is. So if we go back to the definition, protecting the environment from harmful human activities, right? And that's exactly what we need to do. So let's explore how that's being done right now. So I thought a great example of preservation, actually it's an older example, but it's still really great to share. So this is a panda, of course. Specifically, it's the giant panda, and it mainly resides in China. So basically mainly lives in China. And you can see here he's eating bamboo, a little baby one. So fortunately, because of preservation, the giant pandas are still on Earth today. However, at one point, we were concerned that they wouldn't be here anymore, all because of their environment being exploited. So let me make that a little more clear. So the giant panda, their general habitat is in the trees, jungles. That's their habitat. Now, if humans say we need more wood, let's go and get it from their habitat, where they live. So we go in and we cut down all these trees. Guess what? They have nowhere to live anymore. We've just destroyed their home for our own needs. This is the opposite of what we should be doing. So China noticed this and they said, you know what? We need change because we don't want this cute little animal to become extinct. We need to do better. So how can we do better? Preservation, that's how we do better. So preserving the giant panda's habitat actually increased the panda population. So at one point we were worried that there were too little giant pandas, there weren't enough, and then because we preserved their habitat, they were able to increase the population. So that's great, that's amazing news. So as a result of this, they were actually removed from the endangered species list in 2016. So approximately 4 years ago now. Yeah, how horrible would that be? So we protected their environment and all is good now, but imagine we didn't use preservation. They wouldn't be here anymore. It would be horrible, just awful. That's why preservation is important. It's necessary. So I thought I'd also include an example of preservation in India. So perhaps you didn't know this, but India actually has an environmental policy. So the policy enforces that every state and citizen will treat the environment with respect. So we won't go into random areas and exploit them. We're going to treat the environment as if it was your friend, right? You have respect for your friend. You treat your friend nice. And guess what? Your friend stays around for longer. We need to treat nature as if it's our friend. We need to treat it with respect. So I looked a little bit more into the environmental policy that's enforced in India. And I actually took an amazing quote that I'll read aloud that's straight from this policy. So it reads, It shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. So I want you to think about what this means. So what does this mean to have compassion for living creatures? Or how can we protect and improve the environment? These are really important things to think about. I mean, if we go back to the example in China, let's go back there. Do you think that when they preserve the environment for the giant pandas, their habitat, do you think that that was having compassion? Yes, absolutely. They had compassion for this animal. They said that they don't deserve to go extinct. Do giant pandas directly benefit humans? Not necessarily, but having compassion doesn't mean that it has to benefit you, right? That's what compassion is all about. So I thought this was just amazing, and I also included this photo here. This is a beautiful scenery in India as well. Okay. So how can you preserve nature? What can you do to help the environment? Now I know sometimes this is tough because we don't really know where to start. That's normal, that's okay. So for starters, minimize the use of plastic. I know this sounds kind of like an easy one, but it really does help. It helps our oceans. It decreases pollution in the ocean. So a great example, so in Canada, I know that we are given paper straws now instead of plastic straws, and I'm curious if it's the same in India. I would love to know. Reusable bags as well. You notice that a lot of the shopping bags are plastic, which isn't good for the ocean. It becomes polluted. So again, this helps preserve the ocean habitat. So just by doing this at home, just by minimizing your plastic use, you can actually help preserve all the ocean animals. This one's triple R's, the easy one that you've probably heard of. So reduce, reuse, and recycle. What does this mean exactly? Well, for starters, if you have a recyclable item, don't throw it in the garbage, throw it in the recycling. If you have a shirt that's too small for you, don't just throw it away. Maybe donate it to a thrift store or a secondhand store. Use less water, so perhaps take shorter showers or wash your hands for a decent amount of time, but not too long. Or shut the water off when you're done brushing your teeth or while you're brushing your teeth. And plant more trees. This is an important one as well. Look at all those beautiful trees, right? Because we talked about how important trees are to us and how beautiful and necessary they are in nature. So we must preserve and conserve trees. It's really important. They're a home to a lot of animals as well. Okay, so I wanted to take a minute or two just to talk about the assignment. So the assignment isn't too big, and I promise it's not that hard either. So on a blank piece of paper, just any plain piece of paper, I want you to answer this question. How do you think humans can take better care of nature? So I gave you some examples of what we do to preserve nature, what has happened in the past, what's happening currently, but I want you to think on your own, what can we really do to be better? Okay. And at home, I want you to recycle at least one item per day. So if you look on most items, it'll actually have this symbol, which means that it can be recycled. So if you search close enough, I'm sure you can find it on most plastic or any other recyclable items, it'll have this symbol. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I really hope this was beneficial to you. I really hope you got some notes to take home and you can really think about why it's important to cherish nature. And I really hope this was an eye-opener for you. So thank you so much. I can't wait to teach you guys again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and happy learning.